live
Thanks for tuning
again.
in.
Yes, we'll try not to look at these buttons. We were anyway, hop, step, and jump. Really? Are you serious? Jump? Well, I was thinking about bungee jumps, and you know the way if you've ever maybe you've done one, or
No thanks.
we definitely haven't done one. Um, but we've watched plenty of them. And you noticed people are quite different in their approach to the jump. Some people just have a quick look around them and off they go. And
Very brave.
others just go more cautiously to the edge, look around them nervously, kind of around. Is
And
there
then run away.
some do, don't they? They don't even do it. Others take a long time to make the decision whether to jump or not. And that was kind of the way we felt when we thought, jump? So we had just come home from Switzerland, a very intensive training course, leadership course, and working with children, all that very intensive, hard work in a beautiful country, which we didn't see an
Amazing.
awful lot of, to be honest, as you heard the last time. But we kind of came back and then we started into work again. Arnold civil service, me back to nursing 2 nights a week. And um, I'm just wondering what's just flashed up there, Arnold. Can you see?
What?
I'm going to put my glasses on, something funny
It'd be
patched up.
safer, I think.
Okay, I'm okay again.
I think I can keep mine on.
You
I'll
can
have to
keep
watch.
you can keep me right. Oh, what are we like, honestly? Anyway, so back in nose to the grindstone, is that the expression? Both of us back in all the church work as well, and back to my Good News Club kids and our lovely neighbours in Glengormley. So everything was going, but then the questions started to come. You know what it's like? Is this all it was about, just to help us? We knew we grew as people and matured, I hope, quite a bit through doing the course, but is that it? Really? So all these sorts of questions. Well, what can we do? What would we do next? What kind of things do you do with that qualification of a diploma, don't you know?
Oh, yes.
Oh, we should have got our diplomas down out
We
of the
should
roof
have.
space. I'm sure that's where they are. Or maybe in the back of our wedding album where kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
things like that keep. So if you ever burgle our house, that's where they are, okay? If you want a diploma in children's work and leadership. Anyway, sounds very grand. Anyway, but then we heard somehow that there was actually a vacancy to work with the organization that we'd gone to Switzerland with, who did all that teaching for us and provided the great institute. There was a vacancy in East Belfast. That was the other side of the city from where we lived, but it was my roots. No, that didn't attract us. We needed to make sure what was right. But that actually gave us a target that we needed to pray. Okay, we'll start praying into that. East Belfast, God, come on, show us. So we started to process all our thoughts and feelings as well. As far as work was concerned, Arnold, what kind of thing were
Well,
you
for me,
feeling?
I felt really unsettled going back to work. Wasn't that I didn't enjoy work, but as much as you can enjoy work. But yeah, I just felt unsettled, and that didn't go away. And as the weeks progressed, it seemed to get worse. So it wasn't an easy time
No.
in the civil service at that point, for me anyway.
Yeah. And for me in nursing, I absolutely loved nursing, especially after I qualified. 2 nights a week, just perfect. Maybe an extra evening or two there in the nurse bank. And I loved it. And I said, okay, God, if we are to leave this to go and work with this organization, because that's what it would have meant, leave our jobs with the salaries coming in,
And the security.
the security of that. We had a family, we had a mortgage, and ourselves to look after. So I said, okay, God, you need to take away this desire for nursing if it's right for us to apply for this vacancy in East Belfast. So we started thinking around leaving the house, first of all, that we had kind of just about got sorted, hadn't we, Arnold? Just about got it the way we would like it to be. For a start, out the back garden was a very steep slope.
It was like a fairly new development, and so everything wasn't sort of in place.
sorted. So there's like lots of weeds growing down that very steep slope. It was great for growing potatoes, by the way, good Irish potatoes. I grew some potatoes there.
Or rolling Easter eggs down if you fancy that.
Probably got stuck in the mud. And so my dad, he had lots of contacts in the business that would be able to do something for us with this garden, and also to put a garage on the side of the house, which would be absolutely amazing. Dad did give contractors lots of work with the job that he was doing, so it was time some of them owed him a favor. So would you believe we benefited from Dad giving others work, that we actually got this the garden done, beautifully done, with the backyard, with a bit of a wee slope for a lovely rockery, some steps down the middle onto a lovely lawn. And of course, Dad, it became his pride and joy, so he had to come and cut the grass, give it the first cut.
Of course.
Yeah, with his special electric mower, which we didn't argue. So Dad was doing this with the mower, and Sharon, who was more than a toddler, she was into a child now, was running alongside Dad as he cut the grass. And then she tripped and her left arm went into the blades on the mower. Thankfully, Dad had amazingly quick reactions, and he immediately let go of the handle and the blades stopped. But they had taken quite big chunks out of Sharon's arm. They did talk about skin grafts. They didn't have to do that. But she still does have scars today there from that. But it's kind of, as we reminisced on this, we were thinking about Sharon. Yeah, she's not the most agile, sure-footed person, is she? Even yet.
Sorry, Sharon.
But Julie, on the other hand,
she has other skills.
She certainly has. Sharon's more cautious, isn't she, Arnold?
Yeah, I think she takes after me.
Yeah, I think she does in that way. And Julie, on the other hand,
Tuckle's agreeing with that.
Is more adventurous. Oh, it's because we've mentioned Sharon's name.
Oh, yeah.
Right, we're not mentioning it again, okay? Julie, on the other hand, the back door was open, so she was riding her bike around the kitchen dinette and just decided to go on down the steps. Yeah, why not, on your bike? And she was really quite young, and she ended up with her head down the grating. But you know, I don't know whether she knew how to fall in those days as well as in her gymnastic days, but she was fine, thankfully. So that's kind of the difference between our two girls. Maybe Cashin, the name that we're not allowed to mention, Sharon, being more cautious, and Julie, more adventurous, trying things. So that kind of
sums us up.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? The way we make decisions as well.
But a good balance and a good team, I think.
Yeah. It's how we've made decisions all through our marriage, is kind of listening to each other, isn't it? And weighing up all the different options that we can think of. And I have learned over the years, if I'm thinking, so I need to just drop a little seed into Arnold at least 24 hours before I would like to action that thing. Or
if not
like
24 days.
On our walk today, I said to Arn, do you know, I was having a thought, and he went, oh, dangerous. That's just exactly what we're talking about tonight. So there you go, that's us. So anyway, weighing up.
Pamela's thoughts usually involve something creative, which means work.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Oh, right thing to say. Well done. Yeah, I'm not always right, you know, with these suggestions, but it's that I like to experiment and explore and try. Anyway, let's move away from that. So the area as well that we lived in, if we were offered this post in East Belfast, we'd need to move to the other side of the city. And my mum and dad had actually moved to Glengormley to be near us and help with the child minding.
From the other side of the city.
Yeah, they'd moved from East Belfast to Glengormley. And that helped with the child minding then, for when I was trying to sleep during the day. On night duty, I wasn't very good at that, never developed that skill, unfortunately. But they'd moved and they were there. So what if we move again? And we moved back to where they were, and so much to think about. And Arnold's family were all over our side of the city where we were, in the Glengormley, Carrick, White Abbey area. So that would have meant a big change moving the area. Sharon had just started school, so she was in the first year of primary school, and that would mean her moving school. It would mean us moving church that we were fully involved in and back into it as soon as we got back from Switzerland. So that was the house move, the area. Oh, my Good News Club children. I'd have to leave them. And all our neighbours round about. So big changes, but probably the big changes are the biggest one would have been the salary, the secure salary. So we really needed to know. And we couldn't go on feelings and emotions. So we actually thought we need to get some signs, something that is totally out of our control, that we're not conjuring up in our minds or in our hearts, and we're not just talking ourselves into anything. We really needed to know, because actually we knew ahead that not everybody would agree with our jump. And it was a big jump to consider. So just as we were praying for signs, we just need something concrete, God, that we can't control, something that's totally out of our control. And then what happened, Arnold?
Well, we got some postcards which we've actually framed. I've had to take them out of the frame. There's the first one, and they came. Of course, we'll be able to read that.
I don't think so. I think it might be mirrored.
Okay, I'll
but
read
anyway,
it.
don't worry.
Surely life means more than food, and the body more than clothing. Look at the birds in the sky. And that's from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 6, if you want to look it up. A friend, Jeanette, who was with us in Kilsimmer in Switzerland, sent us this postcard. And then the very next day, a second postcard, which says, you're worth more than hundreds of sparrows.
Hey.
And then the very next day, 3 days in a row, let the children come to me, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Matthew chapter 19 and verse 14. There's all the children.
Look at all the children. Isn't that amazing? And then, because we were going back to church and all the different church meetings, there were different verses that came up as well that seemed to keep repeating. Those ones from Matthew 6.
And the major one for us was seek first God's kingdom, and everything else will be added on to you as well. That was a major one for us. And of course, these verses were all from the same sort of Sermon on the Mount.
Yay.
So they really meant something to us. We wanted to do that. We wanted to be putting God first, and whatever He wanted for us, that's what we wanted to do. But it wasn't easy, I can tell you.
And still, we're still in that zone, aren't we? Which is great. No, it wasn't easy because we knew that not everybody would agree with us. And but there was one verse that kept coming up: obey God rather than men. And we knew, well, the people that are close to us who may not agree with it, they want the very best for us, but we needed to listen to God. We needed to know from God. So those postcards and all the verses that kept recurring were really leading us in the direction. Listen, we've heard about this vacancy in East Belfast. We've looked through all the different things that would happen. So we don't know if that door is open to us unless we apply. So we applied, and then we got an interview. And then we got another interview with the committee who helped the workers. They called us workers, local directors, the workers in the area. The committee were there to advise and had been in the area, some of them for years and years. So they were good to draw wisdom from. But they interviewed us. Woo-hoo, how scary is it? Would that be? But I'm sure a lot of you know what interviews are like. But then, shocker, they accepted us. So we were accepted. So quick, get the house up for sale, start house hunting in East Belfast. And you think, you were saying today, you think that we heard about this particular house?
Yeah, there was a friend at work who really just joined the civil service, John Rubery, who became not just a friend but a neighbour, because he told us that the house next door to him, which was the middle terrace of 3 terraced houses, and he lived in the end one. The middle one was free. Well, not free.
We wish.
We wish it was up for sale. And so when we went to have a look, that was the house that we chose, not for its
grandeur,
asceticism, is that the word?
Ooh.
Definitely not for that. But it was the position it was in, and the fact that John had mentioned it to us, we felt that was a God thing. And we went for that, even though compared to the house that we were living in, It was not modern. It was a Victorian house, probably not far off 100 years old. So it was, yeah, it was wasn't a difficult choice, but probably in other circumstances, we wouldn't have chosen that particular house.
Things were progressing for us to go in that direction, weren't there? And even one of the committee members was a mortgage broker.
That's right.
So he helped us to apply for a mortgage, knowing our situation. No set salaries. There was a very small allowance came in with people who supported the actual work of CEF, Child Evangelism Fellowship. That's what it was called, in the area of East Belfast. People who were committed to it, and they would support it financially. So that was a small allowance, but we had to still keep praying that money in, as well as the rest that we needed to live on. So, excuse me.
So the main work really of CEF was to reach unreached kids. In other words, kids who didn't go to church or Sunday school or anything like that, just to reach them in their own areas, in their own homes. Isn't that right?
That's right. So as the mortgage was progressing, I must have got the mortgage to know that we could start moving in, but the state of the house, like for instance, in the middle of the dining room area downstairs, there's a great big hole. There were the old-fashioned quarry tiles, weren't there? And then this great big hole. Upstairs was just something else. And the bathroom, I think Noah used it in the ark, that kind of a bathroom.
Let's just say it needed a little bit of TLC.
Well, Uncle Bobby, my Uncle Bobby,
good old Uncle Bobby,
was a builder. So we asked him to consider the work. Well, if you'd have heard
Bob the builder,
Bob the builder, if you'd have heard the language that came out of his mouth when he saw the house, are you too wise, with a lot of expletives? Why are you leaving that lovely? He just could not understand why we were doing it. And he honestly, he really, and do you remember the time when he started tackling the bathroom?
Oh, he came out black with all the dirt and dust behind the wooden,
whatever it is, the old-fashioned wood
cladding,
things.
almost like a cladding.
But there were 5 bedrooms in this house, which was fantastic, because we love people living with us, and that'd be great. That's a great opportunity to have other people stay with us who needed a home temporarily or more permanently. So it was all coming together.
It was quite comedy though when anyone came, any of our friends or family came. Oh, it's got potential. That was about the sum of it. It's got potential. It wasn't like, oh, this is a great house, but it was actually a great house in the end.
Yeah, the more positive said, it's got character.
Yeah.
Interesting, as they looked around.
And it did have character.
Oh, it did. And there were some characters moving into it, let me tell you. So that was that. We were moving in, and then we had to get to work. What would that entail? What would we do? Arnold, do you want to just read your poem that you have done, just to recap that story that we've just told, and then we'll think about the future.
Okay. Jump. How do you know God is speaking? Folks ask, if you've never even heard his voice. Faith is believing, first of all, God exists. Then the listening part is our choice. Back home, we became more unsettled at work and asked God to show us which way to go. Working full-time with children was in our thoughts, and in the weeks following, those thoughts would grow. As sure as faith rises, fear knocks at the door, to discourage, weaken, and paralyze. What will others think of us? How will we cope? Our decision would affect the rest of our lives.
So true.
With 2 girls to consider and our secure jobs, plus a busy lifestyle already in place, fear of failing to choose the right path might leave us with egg on our face. Believing God is the source of everything good and Satan the source of everything bad, it was important for us to check out the source of those thoughts and feelings we had. The Bible is always our first port of call. It's God's love letter to the whole human race. It's as relevant today as it's ever been, and speaks into the futures we all face.
Mm.
Jesus' words rang out on a mountain one day. Seek God's kingdom first, he declared, and everything else will work out for you. So we chose to believe his wise words. The unknown and untried can be scary, and it was. But God was with us, we can truthfully say. So we
Definitely.
faced down fear and moved forward
Yeah.
on what was for us a red letter day. In March 83, we both left our careers to work as local directors with CEF East Belfast. Our hop and our step had led to this jump, and now we would have to learn fast. Some thought we were nuts, leaving our secure jobs, our semi detached for a house in the city. But though support wasn't there from folks we'd expect, we knew it wasn't a time for self pity. This new adventure would challenge and try us and test our faith again and again. But Jesus had promised it wouldn't be easy and would bring us its joy and its pain.
So there you have it in a nutshell, folks. So, what was working with inner city children like?
Mm.
Tune in next time to find out. Bye for now.
Thanks for watching and listening.
Bye bye.
Bye.